Good evening, everybody. I'm Jonathan Wilner with Harrington Limousine Service, and welcome to our Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Facebook Live. So let me tell you a little bit about me and our company and what we do and why you're here tonight, watching us live. So the company that I run is Harrington Limousine Service. We provide peace of mind anywhere, anytime, not only nationwide, but worldwide as well. And we want to explain to you how we provide that peace of mind during this pandemic and where people are afraid to travel, but have to. We want to reassure you that our vehicles are clean from the outside, clean and disinfected on the inside, and then that we've taken additional steps to ensure that you feel comfortable, that you have that level of peace of mind, so they say. So we have a protection barrier between the chauffeur and the passenger. Our chauffeur wears a mask. Our chauffeur wears gloves. Our chauffeur gets his temperature taken every morning before they come into work so that we know that they're not running a fever, anything like that. We're, knock on wood, we haven't had any cases, since the beginning. So everything has been really good. They also have a packet with them to help clean and disinfect their passenger compartment or their own compartment to ensure that it's clean and disinfected in between passengers. They also have additional masks and gloves so that they can swap out, they can change out to a new mask, a new set of gloves as needed. So, you can go on our website, learn a lot more about what we do and how we do things. But the best part is that our affiliates nationwide and worldwide emulate our same processes there as well as, here. So it's the same. If you get into our car, you should feel safe. You get into their car, whether it's in Chicago or LA or London, they do the same thing. Let's not forget the beginning, the quality of service that you're always going to receive from us and from our affiliates is going to be the same as you always remember. So that's a little bit about us. I just wanted to make sure that you understood what we do and how we do it and how our affiliates around the country and around the world actually emulate the same type of services. The other reason why we're here tonight is because I'm a member of a networking group called BNI. And with that, we grow our businesses by word of mouth. And what I'd like to do is really expose and share with you some of the members in BNI. Now, I have my own chapter, and there are other chapters, 21 chapters in our particular area. And there's a lot of very interesting people, and there can be an amazing amount of synergy. So tonight I have with me from an affiliate, associate chapter from the developers in Woodbridge. I have Miss Rebecca Straub from Straub Law, and she's here with us tonight. Let's welcome Rebecca Straub. Come on in. Ching, ching, ching. There she is. Welcome,
Hi.
Rebecca.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad you could make it with us tonight. I know you had a long and treacherous commute to get here tonight, so we really want to thank you. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know who you are. So why don't you start? Give us a little bit of background, a little bio about you and who you are, so that people can get a little familiar.
Okay, well, it's actually been kind of a long, treacherous journey. Well, maybe not so treacherous, but I moved around a lot when I was younger. I lived in Florida, I lived in Massachusetts, New York, Maryland, Seattle area, Washington, and then back to Florida. And then I went to Chicago, to University of Chicago for my undergrad degree, where I really focused on learning Japanese. And then I went to Japan for altogether almost 5 years, different stints. And then while I was in Japan and I was teaching English, I decided that I really wanted to be on the other side of the desk, and I decided to go to law school. And I went to law school in St. Louis at Washington University. And then I practiced law for a little while with a small firm and decided that I wasn't entirely happy with St. Louis. So I moved to Chicago and actually met the man who became my husband there. And we started dating right when he got a job and moved to Philadelphia. So soon thereafter, I was moving to Philadelphia, and I decided that I wanted to get an LLM, a Master's of Law, at Temple University, focusing on tax and estate planning. And so I did that. And then his job changed. So we moved to New Jersey. And now I've been in my house in New Jersey for longer than I have ever lived anywhere else. And so it's an interesting journey. And of course, now I'm on the journey of being married and having two kids. They're now 12 and 14. So they're not so little anymore, but as kids grow up, it's a journey. So
So,
that's my journey.
wow, it's a long road. A lot of miles were put in there. So tell me, have you did you come straight out of law school and create your own firm, or where were you before that?
So right out of law school, I worked at a small firm where everything was billed in 6-minute increments, and clients often waited to call us because they didn't want to get a bill in the mail, and they thought we could somehow be more efficient if they waited. And that just didn't seem like a good model. Then I moved to Chicago and I worked actually at a publishing, a law, legal tax publishing place, and realized that tax law was not as boring as maybe it sounds. And then got married and moved to Philadelphia and did the LLM in tax, and then moved here. And when I moved here, very soon after, I became pregnant. So I did the mom thing with the little kids for a while. And then when they were a little bit older, they were both in preschool, I decided that I really wanted to use all of this education to actually help people and open my own firm because there was really, I wanted the time flexibility of being able to be there for my kids, but I did also want the to be able to serve and to help people.
Wow, that's quite an amazing story to get from there to here and back again and then here again and whatever. And so tell me a little bit about um, your firm. Is it just you, or are there more people involved, or tell me a little bit about that.
So it's been just me for most of the time. It's been about 10 years. But recently, actually, since COVID started, I had a law school student and a paralegal reach out to me. And, I didn't I made myself not say no. It was very easy to like be in this mentality like only I can do this, but it's really important to figure out what you can delegate. And so I've been, working on that part of of things and delegating to them. And so it's been a big help to have, some other people helping out.
So, can you tell me just a little bit? I mean, the pandemic started about 7 months ago, and we're all wondering, where everything is going. How has it affected your business? I mean, has your business changed? I mean,
Yeah,
tax state.
I yeah, sorry. I used to meet people like in person, like so many other people, but things moved to Zoom and or other video conferencing, and I, set up things so that my initial meeting where I go over what would happen for people if they did no planning and what would happen, what they would prefer to happen, because often that's not really what they want. um, all of that we do the initial consultation on Zoom or other video conferencing. And then for the signing, what I've been doing mostly is having people come to my backyard. And I have some witnesses who are experienced and everybody stands apart and we, put the clipboard down on the chair and somebody picks it up and we direct the whole thing, or I direct the whole thing, and the documents get signed. And then, I do a third meeting and we can do that over Zoom mostly. So I send them their binder and then we set up a time to go over everything.
Wow, sounds a little bit more involved than what it might have been, back in January, for instance. What are you going to do when it starts snowing outside?
Yeah, so I have a colleague actually through my BNI chapter who has a conference room in his building, and he has said that he would let me use it. So that is like the power of BNI right there, if need be. In addition, I cleaned up my garage, more than usual. So there's a little bit of space for people to stand in the garage and get the documents signed if need be.
Wow. Well, 2 seconds here for all the people that are just joining us now. In case you don't know who we are, I'm Jonathan Wilner with Harrington Limousine Service, and with me this evening is Rebecca Straub from Straub Law. We're talking about our businesses a little bit and how networking and BNI and how that all works for us. So, stay on, and we're going to continue talking just a little bit. If you want some more information, where you can reach out to Rebecca or myself. And she has her meeting on Wednesday mornings, and I have my meeting on Tuesday mornings. So if Wednesday doesn't work, reach out to me. Maybe Tuesday will. Let's see what we can do to make that work. And there's a lot of people that we could probably introduce you to. So, Rebecca, tell me, my next thought was along the lines of pandemic. I mean, where do we see, the everything going? I mean, I understand what you're doing now because of it, but how is it going forward, and what do we see? What changes can we expect to see in like the legal system in general? What's going to happen, going forward? What do you anticipate?
I mean, one thing that has happened, so I talked about doing the signings in my backyard or in my garage, because the way the law is now, you really need the witnesses for the will to be live. And so while Governor Murphy did allow for remote notarization for certain things, um, and I can create a plan over totally virtually if necessary, using like the holographic wills and remote notarization. But all of that is really dependent on this executive order becoming law. And so that's why, if people are okay with it, I really do prefer to do things like normalish and have the witnesses and the in-person notarization, so we don't have to go back and redo it. So what the legal field has been sort of talking about is that really maybe this remote notarization should become law and should be allowed for, and then somehow incorporating, how witnesses could be be remote as well, and how, even deeds are another thing that needs to be signed in person. Is there a way to make that available through remote notarization? So really the push for technology to update the legal practice to kind of those elements is something that this is pushing.
Wow. I can't imagine what that would be like or how that's actually going to go. And I mean, I know there's a lot of technology out there that would make it feasible to do remote, authentication. I mean, there's a ton of biometrics out there that could authenticate. I mean, like to log onto my laptop, I needed my finger. God forbid I burn a finger, then that I won't be able to get, if I burn my finger or something or cut my finger, I can't log on to my laptop. Well, at least not with my finger. So I can imagine that would be a road that will have to be explored, right?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
see do you see many difficulties in that option, or do you think that it might make things easier if they go through with that and make that all available?
I mean, I think there are ways to do it. It's not, I looked into it a little bit more deeply in March and April when I was trying to figure out, like, really, what am I going to do? How am I going to wrap my head around this? And, there are those options for finding ways to ascertain who people are when they're signing documents when things are remote. There were a lot of CLEs or different webinars by other lawyers who are like, oh, maybe you need to take the computer and move it around the whole room and show that nobody's pointing a gun at you, and that you're not doing the will under duress. So there are elements along those lines that aren't, it's not, I don't know what the solution is there. Because, that I guess could be a thing, could be that, there's no way to get well, I guess there are 360 cameras, but like, most people don't have them. So how do you get a 360 view of the room and not know, who's there? Um, yeah, so law is one of those areas that's kind of probably the one of the later ones to innovate, but this still pushes everyone to think of different ways of doing things.
Well, that's awesome. That's good news, and getting a different perspective. I want to touch on BNI now. I mean, because that's one of the reasons that we're here this evening. Now, you're in BNI. How long have you been in BNI?
I've been in BNI for 2.5 years, and yeah, it's I really like it. What I do is very, very high trust, so and sort of a higher price point too. So it takes a while to build up that trust, and also for people to sort of process what it's all about. But it's definitely been a great place for me to every week say my, commercial, my elevator pitch, my, 30 seconds, 60 seconds, and describe what's new, what's going on with me. It's been amazing to hear about other business owners and people, even if they're working in a business, what the sort of ins and outs of their business are. And then there's our 10-minute speeches that we give every once in a while, and those have certainly developed my ability to speak more and understand. And it's just so for me, for now, it's been a lot more like a personal development thing, but it
Hmm.
is starting to pay off, and I am starting to get business and clients through it. Sometimes you just have to pay your dues, but it really depends on, the type of industry you're in.
So tell me, I mean, the developers is a very prominent chapter I know of. There's a few very prestigious chapters, developers being one of them. How did you pick that chapter? I'm sure, like many people who decided to go down the road for BNI networking and so forth, they probably looked at a few different chapters. And back then, we'd meet in person, we go to different locations. Was it location more important, or was it the people? I mean, did you visit other chapters first and foremost? Let's get that question out of the way.
Yeah, so over the years, I'd been invited to join different chapters, and I did go visit two other chapters. And my kids sort of were younger. So, maybe the first time I visited, they were 5. And the next time I visited, they were, 9 or something like that. And the how to deal with the mornings and them was an issue. But I visited these chapters and it seemed like an interesting idea. And then somebody personal, like a friend, came over and said, you should join my BNI chapter.
Who
And
is that?
that was actually Mike Bieberman, but he beat out
Oh,
Mason Resnick. so, um, so they, and then I went to developers, and it was just such a wonderful group of people a lot of people have been in the group for like over 10 years and are sticking
Right.
with it. And, just a lot of great people. And so, you know, partly was that personal connection and the feeling about the whole group. And partly was also the age that my kids were at was finally made sense that, we could organize things enough to like they could get out of the house and it would work out.
So, so tell me, all right. So here's the $1 million question. There's a ton of professionals in your group, and they're great people. I know everyone there. They're really terrific people. Wednesday morning, you meet there. It's you meet on virtually now via Zoom. But I'm sure that there's a profession or an individual that you would like to see part of your meeting. So, you know what? We've got everybody's attention, and either that person is sitting out there watching us, saying, "Oh, look at that guy! He's the hair is receding," or something like that. They're just looking at whatever. But maybe it's the person with the profession that you're looking for to have sitting across the table, metaphorically speaking, or on Zoom with you, that there could be synergy for you. So, who's that person?
I think for me, a tutoring service would be really great. I know a lot of kids are still virtual based on their school district. And even when things go in person, a lot of people might need some extra tutoring to get back up to speed. And um, part of the planning that I like to do is for families with children that are under 18, minor children. Because if you don't have a will, if you haven't named guardians for your children in one way or another, um, and something happens to both of the parents, a judge will decide who makes the decision, who will take care of the children.
That's horrible.
So a friend of mine, would say that she knew that her sister and her sister-in-law would fight over her kids, who would take care of them. And okay, so one of them is in her 20s, still goes out to bars, part-time worker, lives in an apartment. And the other one, is in her 40s and is a stay-at-home mom, and the husband has a stable job and they have a pool and whatever. So who's the judge going to choose?
The kid with the apartment in their 20s and likes to go out and party, right? No, I guess not. So,
Right. So, but what the judge doesn't know is that the sister-in-law who's a stay-at-home mom is really not a positive person and yells at her kids and is verbally abusive.
so
And
I was right.
her sister, even though she lives in an apartment and is currently going out to bars, has the type of personality that she really wanted for her to raise her children. So, unless you say what you want, it, really is up to a judge. And a judge can only look at, those kind of facts. They're not going to know what your personal feelings are once you've passed away. So I think in the chat there are some resources. One thing that you can look at is that if you want to know like the 7 must do's for naming guardians, so that you make sure that you name people that are going to be good for your children, and you understand what mistakes people might typically make. There's a resource in the chat, I believe, to get a free report on those 7 must do's.
And this
And
is good information to know. And what I think is that it would be great for somebody who's interested in finding out more information to actually reach out to you. And I think we have your information. The free report on the must do of when naming guardians. You can find it on Rebecca's website. So there it was. It just popped up for you. But Rebecca could be found real easily. I just want to reach out to the tutors out there real quick because we're running out of time a little bit. I want to make sure that you understand that we're looking for a tutor of children, not of adults, for children, because this way it will open up that door to getting to know the other individuals, because the tutor knows the parents and so forth, and they would be a good intro that way. So if you're not a tutor, maybe you know somebody who does tutoring, or maybe you have a tutor that teaches your kids right now. Just reach out to Rebecca. Let's do that. And I just want to, before we end for this evening, I want to remind everybody you can meet Rebecca via Zoom on BNI every Wednesday morning. She's there at 7 o'clock. So if you want to, if you're interested about BNI and you're interested to talk more to Rebecca, Wednesday morning, reach out to her. If you want to know more about the limousine service or interested regarding BNI, I'm available for you on Tuesday morning. Reach out to me anytime and we'll make something happen for you. So in the meanwhile, Rebecca, I want to thank you very much for taking the time out of your day. I know it's late. You got kids and you got stuff going on. There's the legal stuff going on. So learn more about us both on Facebook. Message us even after the live thing. So I want to thank you very much for showing up this evening. And maybe I'll see you on a Wednesday.
Yeah, and I also want to say that your limousine service is amazing. My parents came to visit and we used your service. They used your service, and everything was like on time and just organized and clean and wonderful and very service oriented. They can't you really lift suitcases, and that was like not an issue. They didn't even have to ask for the suitcases to be put in the trunk. It was amazing. So thank you so much for your service.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad that they enjoyed our services. And until next week at 7 o'clock, I'm Jonathan Wilner, and this is Rebecca Straub, Straub Law. We'll see you again real soon. Thank you.